Hi, good morning. Time for the morning coffee. Yesterday I spent about 4 hours on the beach. Absolutely glorious, with my full canned headphones and listening to my favourite all-time tracks and producers, guitarists, songwriters, and I put my own tracks in there, obviously to compare, and made a mental note of all the things that I would need to do to my own tracks to bring them into par with these commercial tracks. So that was a good 4 hours spent enjoying listening to music in a kind of critical way from a production perspective. And then obviously I went for a good walk, had some dinner, and found the local supermarket. And then last night, about 12 o'clock, I couldn't really sleep, so I started writing down all those little things that I need to do to the tracks in order to bring them to a commercial level. So that's my challenge at the moment now, is to study all the different aspects. Not just the production, but certain techniques. I'm also invested. Funny, I came onto an interesting website about the equipment that musicians use to record particular songs or particular albums, or for a particular era in their history. And so I'm interested at the moment in what amps guitarists use. And particularly been listening to a lot of Nile Rodgers recently, with the advent of Daft Punk. I've revisited a lot of the Nile Rodgers videos that I'd seen many years ago in the 80s when he was working with Bowie. So that's a guy, Nile Rodgers, that I'd really love to work with. I mean, he had I remember that film Artificial Intelligence, when they found the boy and they said this boy had contact with real human beings. Well, for me, Nile Rodgers, he's had real contact with Bowie, so he's a very special guy. So that's going to be really interesting. Ciao. Okay, so let's continue this. So he's had contact with Bowie, and great loss. And Bowie used some great guitarists through the ages, from Mick Ronson to Nile Rodgers. Stevie Ray Vaughan played on Let's Dance and China Girl, amongst other tracks on that album. I'm listening to those sounds, and I'm listening to the guitar parts very carefully, and the use of effects, or lack of effects, because Nile Rodgers plays pretty clean. I think he uses a little bit of a digital delay, very similar to the one Andy Summers used in Every Breath You Take, through a pretty clean amp. He plays partial chords, a few strings at a time, to get those very sort of funky, clean, cutting sound, quite rhythmic. So when I get back, I'm gonna experiment with that. And he did play through, I think, a reverb. What's it called? Not Roland. Yeah, I could see that. Yes, I could see that Nile Rodgers played through a Fender amp, 4 10-inch speakers in a combo, and for a fuller sound, I guess it gives a fuller sound, a warmer sound. So I like to recreate that and have a go at using a 4-speaker cabinet to just warm up the sound and see if I can recreate that kind of funky plucking, if you like. So that's one thing that I'm kind of aiming at, and the other is looking at Dave Gilmour's style. Also kind of use quite a clean Fender amp for a lot of the stuff that I liked of his Pink Floyd albums. What else? Yeah, I had a look at Stevie Ray Vaughan as well, sort of investigated him a little bit and the sounds and the kind of pedals he used. And again, he used the 4 10-inch speakers and kind of fuzz effects to recreate Jimi Hendrix type sound. So it's very interesting to be able to go into that kind of depth as a kind of researcher for guitar. I'd like to create my own sound, but knowing how other people created their own sounds is probably the first step, is to figure out how they created their sounds, to do some research, then to recreate it, and then hopefully by then I would have understood what kind of sound I really like. I probably have an idea in my head already, but then look at the equipment and start experimenting with combination of different mics, different amps, to recreate or to create this original sound that I'm kind of looking for. When I say original sound, I mean something that's pretty much instantly recognizable. So if I play an intro with a guitar, that people would know that was me playing, because there's no one else playing with that combination of effects, let's say. So that's the challenge, is to create a unique sound.